Good evening and welcome to this evening's meeting of Port Jervis City School District Board of Education. At this time, I'd like a motion and a second to resume regular session, please.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Bill, Flo, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. This time I'd ask everyone to stand for the pledge, followed by a moment of silence, and I will lead us in the pledge this evening. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A moment of silence for Lincoln break.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, at this time I'd like a motion and a second to approve the amended board agenda, please.
I'll move it.
Judy?
Second.
Brian? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay, at this time, we have presentation, we have budget update. Is it a budget? Yeah, we have budget. You'll do it during your regular report, okay. Okay, and this is the year in review. Okay, we have building presentations at this time. You can go ahead.
No, at this point, I'll turn it over to our administrators from PPS, as well as our buildings are all represented here. And it's also great to see some of our teachers here this evening, so we're excited about that. But Mr. Cancredi.
Are we going now?
Yep, you're on now.
Am I going up here?
Got no takers.
I guess not. Well, good evening, everybody. So it was a practical joke. All right, good evening, everybody. It is really great to see all of you guys, and we certainly appreciate the opportunity to present to you tonight. Certainly not going to say anything too obvious other than the fact that, you know, this has been a very challenging year, and school, education, instruction has looked a lot different. So we've collaborated, all of the building administrators collaborated the last probably 3 or 4 weeks on this presentation. And I will say that it's been a blast and an honor to work with everybody. As you'll see tonight, the presentations are fabulous, and what we do for students and children in this community is amazing, truly amazing, and it's definitely the work of the teachers. So I'm proud to be a part of it, and I'm proud to be a part of this team. So again, it's an honor to be presenting to you tonight. So that does not count towards my time. I just wanted to do a little introduction and just share that with you. So I'm going to move forward. We have to be first. So basically, when we kind of kicked around what we were going to do with this presentation, Mr. Rydell, Mr. Pantaleone, and Mr. Lenz really do a lot of great things as far as support for our teachers in the realm of instructional technology. There's a lot of apps, there's a lot of different platforms that are offered to us. So what we thought would be a great idea was to maybe showcase some of those things, so you as the board can get an idea of what these things are, right? You may hear these buzzwords and what these different apps are, but until you see it happening in the classroom, right, you really may not get a good gauge on that. So we recruited a few teachers. Sharon Fox, who's our new librarian. She's going to show you a thing called Flipgrid that is really cool. Breakout Rooms, which is part of what the Google Suite is, like Google Classroom. So Kat Stellato is going to do a little video on Breakout Rooms. Marissa Carlton, who is present tonight, she is our admin intern. So she had no choice but to be here tonight. And she's going to talk to you about Nearpod. And then we have a video by Lindsay Wiley on IXL. And IXL, again, is just a fabulous platform. So I certainly want to thank those teachers for putting that work together. I want to thank Javina Khan, who really helped the teachers put this together. But certainly, none of this really would have been happening unless Sadie took over. And Sadie Roosevelt did an amazing job of really collaborating, getting everybody together. I kind of gave her the idea of what I wanted to do, and she just kind of took it on and really had, I don't know how many different meetings with the teachers and did a great job. So Sadie, I do appreciate all the work you did. So thank you. With that, I'm going to be quiet now. I'm going to turn it over to Sadie. She's going to do a little monologue for each one. There's a little video clip, but Marissa's here, so she'll do hers in live in person. So, all right, so I'm going to turn it over to Sadie right now. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoy it. And again, thanks for this opportunity. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All yours.
Good evening. So as Mr. Cancredi said, the first video that we're going to show tonight was made by our brand new librarian, Sharon Fox. And what Flipgrid is it's basically a video discussion tool that we have access to. And in this video, you will see how Mrs. Fox uses Flipgrid with her students to really just engage them in different types of discussion.
Hi everybody, I'm Sharon Fox and I'm excited to tell you about Flipgrid. Flipgrid is a video sharing platform that is entirely controlled by the teacher. I personally use it in the library for exit tickets and checks for understanding, class discussions, allowing individual students to make portfolios and presentations. We use it for creative content creation like storytelling and also for online safety skills because it's sort of the kiddie pool of content creation, a little bit safer than the giant ocean of YouTube or TikTok. And while I have full control over each grid and each topic and each video, students have full autonomy over their own image. They can blur the video, they can cover their faces, they can make the background interesting, they can add stickers, and who doesn't love digital stickers? My favorite thing about Flipgrid is that it allows students of all ages to express themselves verbally and with body language, which does two things. One, it gives them a break from a lot of our text-heavy apps that we've been relying on for remote use, including Google Classroom. But it also, because you can see each other, allows for a lot more social interaction. And students are having a lot of fun being able to respond to each other.
My favorite book is The Day the Crayons Came Home. Miss Fox, I think you should read Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I think Magic Treehouse because it's about magic and a tree house, and there's a lot of books of it and series. Right now, I got this one. I've been reading Judy B. Jones books for a really long time. I have the first one, the second one, the third one, and the fourth one. I hope I get all of them. I'll see you next time.
So you can definitely see how much they like it and how much it allows them to show their little personalities. So the next tool you're going to see is Breakout Rooms, and this is a relatively new feature for Google Meet. And it's wonderful because it allows for different sessions to be broken off of the original Meet, and that allows our students to work in small groups, have discussion, collaborate with one another, all while the teacher can help them. So you'll see what this looks like in Mrs. Stellato's 6th grade class.
Before we head to breakout rooms, we set the focus, go over the learning targets, and review the expectations that are held while they're in the breakout rooms, all together as a whole class. As you can see, then you're able to manipulate the breakout rooms and put the students into groups. You can manipulate who goes into what group depending on the purpose of the lesson, as well as the need of the student. So as you can see here, I'm starting to adjust some rooms and some students and moving them, which is easily done just typing in the names and then saving the change. After the rooms are set and the students go into the different breakout rooms, you can see they're able to converse with one another. They're even able to display their screens, so that way they have a focused viewpoint of what they're working on. And then I'm able to go into different rooms to check on the students. I can help facilitate discussions, see if they're having any issues, and make sure that they are focused and on track. After some time with one room, you simply exit and join a different room to do the same with the next group of students. And then you continue doing that as long as needed or as long as time allows. Now, at any point in time, a student can click the raise your hand button, and that will let me see that they need help. So I can leave the current room I'm in and go help that particular group out. You may also notice that there is a close rooms button, and at any time, if needed, I can click on that, and it will bring all the students right back into the whole class meet.
Okay, so that was breakout rooms, and one feature that Mrs. Stellato didn't have a chance to mention in the video is normally when the kids are in breakout rooms, if the teacher doesn't need to bring them back whole room without notification, they do get a countdown timer in the room to let them know how much longer they have so that they can naturally wrap up their discussion. They don't just get cut off. So that's also a great part of this.
Before we head to breakout,
Okay, so the next tool is Nearpod, and Marissa Carlton is going to go ahead and go over that, and then I will be back.
Hello, thank you for letting me join you today. So I'm a 4th grade teacher at ASK, but I'm also doing my internship for administration. So Nearpod is the one instructional technology that I have used in every subject for my class. It allows me to see students work live. This way I'm able to help them if I notice that they're stuck on something. There's 2 versions of it. There's the teacher paced, which is a live participation, and I gradually put the students through the lesson. And then there's also the student paced, and this way I can just upload it to Google Classroom. They can work through it as homework or classwork, and then I'm able to view all of their work later on in the day. The great thing about Nearpod is there is a vast library of all different subjects. So if I want to just find a lesson about clouds, for example, with my picture there, I'm able to just type in clouds and I can pick from a variety of lessons that are already there. Also, I'm able to create my own lessons. I can either edit a lesson already there, or I can create my own with a Google slide presentation I've used in the past. I'm able to share my library with my grade level amongst my school, and also even in the district. There are a variety of features that Nearpod offers. I'm only going to focus on 3 in my presentation, otherwise we'll be here all night. So the great thing about Nearpod is you can put videos into it, you can take the kids on a VR field trip, you can insert audio, so students that are struggling readers, they can just listen to you, give directions. There's matching games to practice vocabulary, there's a graphic calculator, which is great for math, and there's so much more. On the picture, you can see I asked my students to draw and label 3 different types of clouds. From the picture, you can see that there is a yellow line underneath. That shows that the students are still working on it and they're drawing and doing the assignment. If you notice that there's a few that have just the pencil there, it says awaiting drawing, that means the students haven't opened it yet, so I can encourage them to start the assignment. One feature that I really like to use in my classroom is polls. I can use it as a pre-assessment to see what my students are familiar with. I can also use it as a post-assessment to see how my students are understanding the topic. I can also use them at any time throughout the day just to check in on how my students are doing, and I'm able to pull struggling students in a small group. So if you notice the picture on the left, that was a poll that I asked, and it was a post-assessment, and I said, how confident do you feel about your understanding of text features? So this was after we did a whole lesson on text features, and the students had the option to choose, I'm ready to move on, I need more practice, or I'm confused. They are very honest with their answers, which is great. And you can see in the graph, it shows that majority of my students were ready to move on. Those students that are in the orange or the blue, I can go into a breakout room and I can work with them and see what they need help with, what confusion they might have, and help clarify anything for them. The collaboration board is another piece that is great with Nearpod. It allows all students to type their responses. For my picture, you can see I asked them to name the different types of text features. The students are able to post however many times. It's like a little sticky note on a cork board. And then they are able to like a classmate's response. If they choose not to write in the text box, they can actually take a picture. So say I ask them to show a text feature in their book, they would be able to take a picture with their Chromebook and just upload the picture in there. One great feature that I like about the collaboration board is that I'm able to approve their responses. So you always have one student just going crazy, right? So I always make sure that I'm able to approve their response and it's appropriate for the rest of the students. This feature, Draw It, is by far my students' favorite. It's great to use for all subjects, but I definitely like it with math, especially with virtual teaching. Because if they're through the computer screen, I can't see their work, and they're usually holding their notebook up and they're shaking, and you just can't see it. So it allows students to show their work, and it's the student choice. They can either upload a picture, like the student on the bottom did, he uploaded a picture of his work, or they can choose to use the marker feature and the text box feature to show their work, like the picture on the top. There's all different tools that they can use. They can use markers, highlighters, text box, they can add pictures. It's a great feature. And most importantly, the students love Nearpod. They especially like the Draw It feature, and they always ask, are we doing Nearpod? Can we draw? Can we draw? And it's a great way to get to understand what they know about the topic. So if you notice, I have two student examples. One example was, I asked them to draw the food chain, and they could pick whatever they wanted. I also am able to provide them with options in Nearpod, and they were able to draw that. Another option, this was an ELA. We were going over cause and effect. The students were asked to write a cause and effect sentence. So this student decided to write, he slipped on the wet floor, he fell on his back. So you can see his drawing, he was able to visually show that as well as type it in there. So that's Nearpod. It's a great tool that all teachers are using, and I highly recommend it.
Okay, and last but
Hello.
last but not least, we have IXL. This is a video that one of our 6th grade teachers, Lindsay Wiley, made. What it is a personalized learning platform, and throughout the video you will see how this tool works for teachers and students, and why this is so beneficial to any teachers that are using it.
I'm Lindsay Wiley. I'm presenting iExcel today. iExcel is an excellent tool to reinforce skills being learned in class. Also track student progress, create groups based off of similar student needs, and develop a plan for RTI and enrichment. It truly has been my most useful tool during distance learning. One of the ways that we create a plan for RTI and enrichment is through the diagnostics tab. The students have learned to enter the diagnostic arena for 10 to 15 minutes on a given day and answer various questions from different subjects. At the end of that day, it's going to level them out. I can actually watch the students in real time, whether they are working on diagnostics or an actual lesson, and I can see what they've answered. If I were to click on a student's name, and they will see this as well when they click on their own name, it levels them out and lets them know their actual level in different areas as far as math and ELA goes. So they would know to go to any of these lessons to improve upon their score. They're also familiar with what the numbers mean. Anything that's 6 is a 6th grade, and then this would be like 6th grade 4th month in this area. And then they can click on that, and there's different lessons that they can go to practice. Now, some of these lessons are not even things that we've covered yet. So that student's doing very well in that area, considering we have not covered that topic yet. In addition to the diagnostics, the students are able to practice each day on the skills we are learning in class. So it's a great way for me to assess if all students are learning and participating. If I were to go to a skill that we are working on right now, I can send it to the students very easily, and they can start practicing, and I can see where they're at. I can also click on their current question, pull it up on the smartboard, help them get through the question if they are having difficulty. So I'm going to assign a question to them, a lesson to them right now, and you can see what it's like when I'm watching the students in real time. All right, all of you open up the chat. And get into the lesson that I just assigned to you at the top. It'll take a moment for that to register, because you see they're in the diagnostic arena right now. But when they get in, then you can see the lesson that they're on. I can also have students working in multiple lessons at one time. I can group by skill. So I would see who's in the arena, and then as you see the students getting into the actual lesson right now that I assigned to them, you see the breakdown. And you start to see their SMART score. Guys, go slow, think about the questions. If a student pops up in red, I can click on their question. It means that they need some help. And I can, let's see what the new question is. I can talk them through it. I can actually write on the smartboard and communicate with them to help them get through. The students are super familiar with how the SMART score works. The SMART score goes from 0 to 100. 100 is not necessarily where they're all going to get. They really need to strive for an 80 SMART score, because that is where they are actually proficient with the skill. And that's really achievable for most students. The 100 is the challenge. That means they completely mastered the skill. So when the questions in the 90 through the 100 SMART score start happening, they only can gain 1 point each time, because they're really hard and they force them to think outside of the box. So this is really helpful for grading purposes as well. It also helps me know which students are inactive. I might have students at another group right now. They might not be in attendance for the day. It's a lot. There's so many different things. And they also know how to go to their progress themselves and see where they need to bring their score up. So for instance, if they would like to be in an 80 SMART score for each lesson, there's certain skills that they might need to go to, and they can click on them and then get into that lesson and bring their SMART score up because they want to improve their grade. So it's really good for student goal setting as well.
All right, so thank you again for allowing us to present to you tonight. I hope this brought some clarity to some of the things that you've probably heard about throughout the year. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Hemar from HPE.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm going to get acclimated up here. And first, I want to start off by thanking our school board and our central administrators. The many hats we wear as school leaders, especially during COVID. I've added crossing guard and traffic director to that. And I've never been more excited to direct so many cars in our parking lot in my life. We were about 81% yesterday and 83% attendance today. And just smiles on the faces of our staff, our kids, our parents. It's been an incredible couple days at the school. So you had such a role in making that happen. So thank you to each of you. I'm going to talk about here, you can see on my slide, Nearpod from a little bit of a different lens. I want to speak about tech integration and instruction and sort of show you from the screen side of things what this looks like in our delivery. And one of the things I'll highlight is the Google Suite and how we can use that for student engagement, as well as what I think is going to quickly become a fan favorite, Mr. Pantaleone bringing in the Lou Interactive for physical education. Before I jump into my first set of slides here, you've heard us talk a lot over the last several years about our 5 look-fors at the school. Student engagement, learning targets, we presented about that here, differentiation, checks for understanding. That has been an academic focus throughout the district and drives a lot of what we do in our classroom setting. And then the other model is the Teachers College and our workshop model for reading and writing and mathematics. So when we think about the lens of technology and what it's doing for us, really difficult when we have kids at home, how to drive that engagement. And that's been a real focus of ours. And I think you'll see some of that here this evening, how we were able to do that. Really excited to think about technology and all the platforms that we have here and how this is going to translate as kids come back. And I know Emerson's going to grin about all of this, except for that. That was, somebody left that there. I didn't need the clicker anyhow. Sorry, Emerson.
We'll send you an invoice.
I know you will.
Make sure it goes on HP.
I don't need that. I'm just gonna click here. You can set it up for the next one.
Well, if you don't break it.
That was not in the script.
No trophy. It's no trophy.
Where was I? Thinking about our instruction and how this is going to help us moving forward. Student engagement, student ownership of learning, giving students a platform to, one of my favorite quotes, if I want to feed you for the day, I give you a fish. If I want to feed you for a lifetime, I teach you to fish. But if we want to feed the world, we'll let you teach others how to fish. Technology is what gives the students the ability to drive their learning because it gives them another platform to teach others. And I think that's something that's glaring in all the presentations that you'll see here tonight. So I'm going to just jump in here. This is Mrs. Felix. I know Marissa went really deep here on Nearpod, so I'm not going to talk too lot about it. Mrs. Felix showed you some of the interactive pieces that are already built for you. So this is Lynn Felix, and she's a 5th grade teacher at HPE.
Nearpod is an interactive website for student learning. It has lessons on different topics where they may ask essential questions, give information on lessons, and students have different interactive activities that they can do, such as polls, that where the teachers will get real-time data on the students, or virtual field trips. This one, they do a virtual field trip to a hot spring, where they can see 360 the different states of matter. Students can also use the Foundational 5 as part of the lesson itself too. Another great aspect of this is the interactive lessons. Students can see by actually using the technology how to what changes states of matter. Nearpod is a great website.
Mr. Rydell, I think Mrs. Felix applied to your sciences there, wanting to be able to show that piece, getting the molecules to move with heat there. As Emerson loads my next slide, I just want to point out also with Nearpod, one of the neat things about technology is that also with our platforms being shared really helps to align the building's equity in the experiences of our kids. So certainly Nearpod is a great tool to help us do that. Mrs. Green, I don't know if you know this about her, but before she came to Port Jervis, she was the Georgia State Librarian of the Year. And she's just a special woman and does so much for us. She works so hard. I walk into her classroom and if we were like to talk about this a year ago, February, that this is what it would look like a year later, March. It's just remarkable to see, thinking about the space as we created the new media center. If you recall, when you come into the library to the right, where that lab seating area is, really difficult to fit kids 6 feet in distance. At 3 feet, it gives us a better shot, but trying to navigate that and figure it out. We have that learning space in front of the circulation desk, where that drop-down screen is, and then we have the lab area, and that's how we could fit the kids and how she could instruct. So I'll kind of let her explain it here, and then I'll talk about it for a quick second. But this is Mrs. Green at HPE.
Hello. And I grew up with the milkman. The family car. And the milk medicine.
When planning for the return of all my students, keeping our library classes in the library was a huge priority. We were able to accomplish this goal by setting up 2 separate seating areas. I am stationed in between the 2 groups with my laptop connected to the drop-down TV for one group and wirelessly casting the laptop screen to the smart board for the second group. I can also present and monitor my virtual students using Google Meet on my laptop while viewing their screens on my Chromebook. So while we are safely distanced from one another, each student has the same access and the shared experience of the library.
I was standing at her circulation desk and we called Joe Cuevas and said, Joe, here's our problem, here's what we think the solution is. We have no clue how to do it. And he took a breath, he took a sigh, he said, let me get in touch with Emerson, we'll get right back to you. He did, he called back, we think we have a solution. Emerson came up. I hope you can see it from there, but Becky is teaching from her station. She has kids learning here, she's hardwired to a drop-down screen. She's streaming to the smart board on this side with kids over there. And she's got a separate computer with a Meet running with kids at home. And all the while doing that, student engagement, higher thinking questions, learning targets. Just incredibly impactful to our kids and what we've asked them to do and how they've met those challenges. So really, really remarkable. On the last slide, without my clicker here, I also, for you guys, I put on there those links. I know you have the presentation. I won't click on them here, but one of the other challenges was, how do we get kids in books' hands when they're home? And then materials and how to disinfect them. And so our team has worked really hard to get us these apps for online learning. Sora Library, I use that personally with my own kids as well. Just a great resource. Myon is a new resource for us, is now also linked to our Teachers College libraries, And RAS Kids is another one. So just another way to keep kids in books, keep driving that message at home. So thank you for making that available to us. I'm going the wrong way here. Engagement in the hybrid model. So now the challenge, the kids are returning, and where it was we only had like 3 or 4 kids in person and 15 or so kids at home, now that's like the flipped model of hybrid. We now have 15, 16, 17 kids in person and 2, 3, 4 kids remote at home. So when I think about engagement and how to deliver, I'm managing 2 different classes, the same class and the same instruction, but in 2 different models at the same time. So very, very challenging and very difficult. So this is a 2nd grade lesson, Mrs. Snyder, and this is the one and only Ivan. It's a favorite book of our 2nd graders, and in this lesson, one of the characters actually passes away. So the instruction, the lesson, the kids have to basically take on a character, think about the feelings of that character, and then be able to deliver and communicate that. And something that's really important to us as we especially get into the testing grades, show your evidence. Teach me what you're thinking, right? So these students, I don't know if you can see that, but this is some of the dialogue, the rigor, the rich agency that's happening in a 2nd grade classroom. These are the kids' description of their feelings. Sad and maybe lonely, down in the dumps, depressed, very heartbroken, sad and hurting. And then they give evidence from the text on where they think that thinking came from. So I'm just going to show you the picture here, and that'll allow me to explain it. So this is the learning target for the lesson. I can role play in a partnership to explain characters and feelings. So now I have 15 kids sitting with shields. We want them to teach each other, we want them to engage, but they can't be too close and they can't exchange materials. So in this lesson, you see the 2 boys here, they have their character sticks. That's the role they're assuming, and through the shield, I'm now putting on my jot, on my Post-it, my thinking to the other student. This is my feeling, and this is why I think that, and they put it on their shield. They actually stick it right on there. So now the kids all around them can engage and look at their thinking without interacting and breaking the 3-foot barrier. Well, what about my kids at home? This is engaging with the Google Slides, and these are the students thinking at home, so the kids there can see it, they're still engaging with each other. Then she'll print it all out, and it all ends up living on this chart, so their thinking can be referenced throughout the coming unit. So again, just really dynamic, creative ways to drive instruction, drive our deep thinking, allow students to teach one another, no matter if they're hybrid at home or they're present here with us. So again, just I think the message here tonight is going to be collectively the amazing job that our staff, our teachers are doing to deliver to kids. Emerson, I lied, I have one more video here. While he gets the sound situated for that, this is the Lou Interactive, and Mr. Panelion's been working on this for over a year now, and worked with their outfit out of Canada to come down and present to our PE staff K through 8. Came down and did a demo, and it's just amazing as a technology what it can do for our kids in physical education to get them excited about moving, connected to academic learning. So in some of the videos you'll see, the activities are math and literacy based. So the kids are, we're touching a lot of boxes there. The SEL piece,
I envision a world
piece,
full of passion,
and I'll let them say that.
of laughter, of learning. Each and every day, I engage thousands of children all around the world through immersive learning experiences. And now I bring this to a whole new level. Hi, I'm the new Lou. I have been completely redesigned for you to read better, to travel beyond books, and explore new spaces to learn, and for you to be engaged with all of your senses. This is my new heart. I'm right by your side, ready to push the limits even further. I'm easy to install, super flexible, and simple to use. I can now fit in a wider range of spaces. Together, let's open schools to new worlds.
And last comment comment on that. That picture there that you see is actually our students. Nick was able to coordinate and facilitate. We brought kids in from both buildings, K through 6, to come in because we really wanted to see the trajectory of learning across lessons with small group and whole group, with our smaller students and our older students. And across the board, the feedback was tremendous, and I know Mr. Leon continues to work on that. So just incredible stuff happening in our schools, in our buildings, from our staff. And that concludes my piece of the presentation tonight. And at this time, the middle school team, Mrs. Lane and Mr. Lazaro, will join us. Thank you so much.
Hi, thank you so much for allowing us to present to you tonight. And thank you HPE and ASK. They gave a great overview of the amazing work that our teachers are doing this past year. And that's what we're going to be talking about as well. So, is that not working? Thanks, that's it. Okay. So we were looking back, and on February 11th, 2020, these are some of the slides that we presented to you when we were up at HBE. And now just looking at them terrifies us to see the kids so close together and so crowded. But that's where we were a year ago. And by June 2020, that is a picture of our last faculty meeting, and somebody entitled it, "We've come to this." And then we posted in the middle school that we missed the kids, so they could drive by on East Main Street and know that they were still in our hearts. But a lot of work was being done still behind the scenes to get us to where we are now. And Anthony's going to talk a little bit about how we made it from June 20th, when we were missing the kids, June 2020, to where we are now.
All right, so last time we spoke, last time I was in front of you guys, can you hear me? I'm sorry. I always forget that. So last time we spoke, I had shared with you a story about a student sitting next to another student having this really engaging dialogue. No masks, right? And they're having this conversation about being. And this teamwork was happening. So today I'm walking through the hallways and I see a student frustrated about with his mask, right? Just kind of drooping down, and the teacher's like, you gotta keep the mask on, you gotta keep the mask on. And he's getting frustrated. And his friend came over to him and said, hey, if you just twist these strings in the back, you'll be fine. So he did that, and the rest of the day I'm like, hey man, you got your mask up, that's great. He goes, yeah. So it's amazing how, again, I got to witness this teamwork happening in a way that I would have never thought a year ago. So when I think about the teamwork that has to happen still in our building between our students and teachers to get us to this point to be successful, it really has taken a lot of little steps. And I just kind of want to take you back. So back in March of last year, this was one of the better situations we all imagined. A kid sitting behind a device, frustrated, isolated, but somehow still behind their device with us. In many instances, this is the situation, this was the reality. It was a disconnect, right? We had students who were just not there. And with the help, and it took a team, with the help of teachers making phone calls home, with the help of Detective Wachowski, we were able to make sure that all our students were at least accounted for. So the challenges of the spring led to the strategies of the fall. So I'm just going to take you through some of the strategies that led us up to, honestly, that moment today with all these students fixing their masks in our building. So when we entered the fall, the first thing we knew that we had to do as a team in our building was to make sure that all students were accounted for, that there was an equity of access across the building, and with the help of, honestly, the district overall, making sure that there were devices in everyone's hand, Mr. Segar and his team making sure we had Wi-Fi for our students, kids were connected. So we were able to begin that process of education in a way that was equitable. We also knew that because of the COVID situation, I'm sure you heard, there was the COVID slide, they called it. So what traditionally has been known as the summer slide has translated into the COVID slide. There was this deficit in learning, right, as a result of all the shifts and challenges that we faced. So what we went back to what we know, our multi-tiered system of support. And what we did was we began to find we need to know a baseline. So we use our math testing as a baseline. We identified the deficits. And we began meeting as teams and deciding what would be the most effective interventions to get students to close some of these gaps. Additionally, we knew that there was social and emotional help that our students were struggling with. One of the things that Mr. Bridell actually brought to our team early on was Girl Circle. So right away, we'll be able to bring students together in these safe spaces to help work through some of the challenges that they were facing. At the same time, while all this is going on in the background, again, Mr. Segar and his team put together some student accounts that we never had before, which really have been game-changing this year for a number of ways, and I'll talk about that later. But he set up school tool accounts and email accounts for all the students. Right? So that opened up lines of communication that we haven't had in a time that we really needed lines of communication. And what he also provided for us was ways for students to advocate for themselves, right? And to become leaders of their own learning. In a year that was really, they needed to take that on in a new way. So with that being said, we move into the second quarter, and again, we had to address these academic and social emotional interventions. One thing early on that we did was a student survey. And we asked them, what's the biggest challenge you have right now? Not surprisingly, distractions. One student said pets, but it still came down to distractions. And we had to decide, how do we help work through that stuff? So we identified the at-risk students, and as we were approaching the winter recess, we did what we would do for our own children. We helped them set up a plan for that winter recess to catch up on owed work. So we called all the parents of the failing students. We set them up with parent portal accounts. We emailed home the list of the missing assignments, and then they went home with a winter recess academic plan. Upon our return, in an effort to reconnect with students, we started Operation Make a Connection. We asked every teacher, every person in the building, every adult, to not to reach out to the parent this time, but to directly touch base with that student via email, personal contact, Google Meet, some way to make sure that student is following through, checking in, and is okay as we regroup for the second part of the year. And now we're in the third quarter, right? And we're focusing our efforts. We know that right now that first semester done, the lack of success in that first quarter will translate into challenges for the rest of the year, right? That's a year-long struggle now. We did have 156 students who made honor roll, so there was success happening, but we knew there were students that we needed to better support. So with that being said, we again reached out to families, but now we're having parent conferences. So that's the stage we're in now. Our parent conferences are with administration, guidance. It's a direct conversation with those families and the students through Google Meets, through the tech that we have available to us. And sometimes it's a phone call, whatever access we can get for the parent. And we set up a targeted intervention that included students working towards staying after school in the AIS program. With all that being said, the student survey that came out recently showed that 60% of students who identified themselves as struggling early in the year are now feel good about themselves. They're improving. They feel that they're leading towards a more successful time. The other positive side of that is 87% of students said that they're actually checking their grades on School Tool, which is what we were going for. We have to improve upon those numbers, but we have now a baseline. And the good news is I sent that survey out through email, and all the students obviously are checking the email now, so that made me feel good. And honestly, so right now, the students that we are struggling to reach are slowly entering our building. Each day our numbers are increasing, and again, that has to do with the efforts of everyone here, and it's truly, truly appreciated to have these students back in our building. This week has felt like school in a way that it hasn't been recently. And before I turn it back to Ms. Lane, I just wanted to share a couple of quotes with you. So in the survey, I asked students, And this wasn't, and I was nervous about this one because it wasn't a required question, so they didn't have to do this question to submit the survey. But it was amazing how many students said they did, right? And the question was simply, how has school changed for you recently? How do you feel about what's going on currently? And this is some of the responses again. I feel more confident and at ease. I'm excited about going 4 days a week now. Isabel, she's an awesome student, doing tremendous this year. This is one of my favorites. In the beginning, I was like, I'm not sure about this. I think we all felt that way. Now I'm like, I've got this. And the final one is, I love how it feels to be back to normal. It almost feels back to normal, right? And that sense of hope permeates the entire building. And I'm sure everyone here is feeling in their buildings, and I gotta imagine everyone up front is feeling the same way. So again, thank you for that, and I will turn it back to Ms. Lane. Sheila's gonna share some student work with you guys.
Amazing, right? So we had 208 kids in our building today, and our teachers are very excited, and it's just been so wonderful to see them all. And I love walking past their classrooms and hearing it all. It sounds like the old days. So now we're back home, and this is what we look like now. This is a couple of our 8th grade ambassadors who were walking our candidates around, our AT candidates. Our little buddy Logan does the Pledge of Allegiance every morning. That's a tradition in the middle school that we always have someone from our self-contained class do the Pledge of Allegiance. And the bottom is the barriers that we have been waiting for, and everybody kind of pitching in to help, because those have made a difference in us being able to fit everybody in the classroom. This year is a year like no other. We've had our virtual art show. So we had to divide our kids up differently than we had before. And so all of our 8th graders are take art half the year, and then they're gonna take another half the year. And I'm just gonna, oh, can I not see this? Sorry. So, and this one is linked on our webpage, okay? So if you haven't seen it, you can go back there. And I just wanted to give you this example, and we thought it was wonderful because the students were actually creating these art projects. And it was both a way to end their semester, but also to advocate for the kids that were coming back later on, or next semester, this semester actually now. We also, let me just go back, sorry. I'm very terrible about clicking things, and very impatient. It's like 20. Thank you. No, we did that one already. We're gonna do that one. So this one, we also had our National Junior Honor Society students were challenged to do videos for Black History Month, and we posted them in our morning announcements. And this was one of them that Anaya Green.
Johnson was a Black trans woman who was a force behind the Stonewall riots and surrounding activities.
And so those are all posted. We do our announcements every day.
In 1970, she committed a group supporting transgender youth who were experiencing homelessness in New York City. Marsha P. Johnston was tragically murdered on July 6, 1992 at the age of 46. Her case was originally closed by the NYPD as an alleged suicide. The transgender activist Mariah Lopez fought for it to be open for investigation in 2012. Marsha P. Johnson is one of the most known icons in LGBTQ+ history and has been celebrated in books, documentaries, and films. Her actions and words continue to inspire trans activism and will continue to do so in the future. I chose to talk about Marsha P. Johnson because she has inspired thousands of people around the world to make a change for the LGBTQ+ community. She took many risks with the LGBTQ+ community so that other members could feel more comfortable in their own skin and not like an outcast.
So again, those were all members of the National Junior Honor Society who prepared little clips every day during Black History Month. And this was a very interesting segment that we put together too from our language department, using all the things that the kids are using right now. So Mrs. Madame, we call her Madame Marvinoff, talked about TikTok, Snapchat, and Adobe Spark, allows students to conduct conversations remotely. So if you can imagine, in a class, they have the conversations in French or Spanish with each other, but if they're not together, they have to figure out how to do it. So these were still their requirements for their language courses, but this is how they did it.
Salut, ça va? Bonjour, ça va bien? Est-ce que tu veux faire marcher les champs? Oui, je veux bien. À quelle heure? Salut, ça va? Bonjour, ça va bien? Est-ce que tu veux faire marcher les champs? Oui, je veux bien. À quelle heure? À 12 heures.
So in the next little guy, did you want to speak to anybody? So he's like puppet.
Et toi?
Ça va. 5 minutes.
Merci.
Bon appétit.
Merci.
Adieu. Ciao. Adieu.
I love this one. And then this last one was great because this person wasn't able to connect with her partner, so she did the conversation with herself.
Rose anniversaire. Merci beaucoup. C'est quoi? Ça va? Ça va? Bien. Toi? Ça va? Bien. A bientôt. A bientôt.
So our students are really creative with the technology, and our teachers are still getting done the things that they need to get done. Again, a year like no other, you know that our STEM teachers are always about being outside. We've actually had several classes with our STEM teachers and our technology teachers out in the 209 field talking about trees and walking around the grounds. They brought back pine branches, so they made little decorations. They tapped the maple tree, so you'll see it when you go past the middle school. And then they definitely took advantage of the snow. We took back our snowshoes that we had loaned to HPE and went out in the fields. And this is our self-contained class, and this was something that this is a commercial that they made to tell the teachers that they were setting up their coffee cards again, a project that they started last year.
Next box, coffee card. Thank goodness for the coffee card. And you too. All you need to do is use your cute order code right here. It's really easy.
Room 308. We've moved our self-contained class upstairs and they've expanded, and it's a wonderful place for them. So it is, it's still Porter's Middle School. It's still amazing. It's still the 7th and 8th graders and the wonderful teachers. And we've adjusted to this year, and it wasn't something we chose, but they've really done an amazing job, so come and visit us and then wear a mask when you get there. And now the Nearpod. All right.
Thanks, Ms. Lane. Thank you, Mr. Lazaro. Very nicely done. You know, it's a special night when Mr. Cancredi has a three-piece suit on, so you started off right, so I appreciate that. And Anthony Lazaro mentioned the word hope, right? There's a lot of hope in this room. There's a lot of hope in this district, in this community. It's actually an acronym. That hold on, possibilities exist. And you just saw a lot of the possibilities. It's really nice. It's really good. It's been a little bit at a time. It's been nice. We started here, right? This port logo. We all love it. We all have it on our cars and our clothes and the things that we do. And even started there. A student came up with that, right? That's our motto for this year. The wash your hands, wear your mask, watch your distance, and that we can mindset. We've asked the question, right? We never, Mr. Rydell never said, can we have a graduation? It was, how can we have a graduation? All of these things that you've seen tonight, it's not can we do them, it's been how can we do them. So it's really been great to see the collaboration, the teamwork, all of those things. This was something that, again, kicked off in all of this, right? If you watched the play Hamilton, we loved it, but we didn't want to miss a shot to do some of these things. You saw all the tools, and we don't want to repeat talking about those, my team here. We want to talk a little bit about with our students and the community organizations. But we had an opportunity to do some things differently, and Port Jervis certainly is, including being one of the first districts around having kids in 4 days a week like we are. So we're excited for Monday at the high school. This has been another mindset, and you heard that from our colleagues today. We're not all in the same boat. We're all in this same storm, but so much has come out in our community of which families didn't have access, which families didn't have computers, etc. And all of you here helped get to that, right? If we needed a computer, we knew who to go to. But this is so true in our hearts and minds in the work that we are doing. So I just want to highlight a couple things with our teachers. You saw some great teaching techniques, right? These are some things you don't see in the headlines or you don't see in a program, including on a fire drill, right? Think of a fire drill. Everyone stops, everyone goes out, and there's a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 minute break, right? It was an opportunity. I said, what are you guys doing? They stayed, this was a remote day. They stayed on with the kids. It was incredible. Like, I didn't even think to do that, and they did that. This is a second year teacher here with us. This is Mr. Koval. Just look at him standing there. He's got his smart board on. He has kids on the computer. He has his Chromebook in his hand, and he's on Remind, in touch with the kids, all in the same motion. It was incredible, right? And then we've all walked into classes, right? Greeting from the teacher. Have you ever seen such a greeting? Look, these Bitmojis and the emojis, all the great things, the technology, just so great because he's touching the minds and hearts of the kids in front of him, as well on the computer. So that's really visually pleasing, right? Trying to find ways to engage. You saw some videos today. It's not 15 seconds, I didn't correct it, it's 32 seconds. But here's Carolyn Doherty, right? Just watch what she does in 30 seconds to create energy, engagement, and enthusiasm.
X plus 3 would be a factor, so x equals -3 would be a 0, so I substituted it in to see if the remainder was 0. That was fabulous. I read them to math teachers, your explanations. So you've grown as people, as adults, getting older, but your ability and what you've done in math class was amazing. So let's all give everybody a hand. Clap! Come on, baby, get those hands going.
So we all know Carolyn, she's been around a while. Emerson, how do I get back to where it was? Just hit the back? Escape. Thanks, Akis. I didn't break the thing, Jared, but sorry. Yeah. Can you move that up? Just go back to where we were. If you look there, right? There's a lot of kids that won't put the camera on. I don't know if you saw that. She had more than half with the cameras on. When you tell kids to clap, right, they don't do it. What did she do? She got it. You know, she was just into it. That's just an everyday clip, 30 seconds of her generating excitement and enthusiasm there. Here's Colleen Koenig, right? A lot of teachers, they're at the desk here. Colleen took the Chromebook up, right? Teachers had a desktop. They asked for a Chromebook. They got it for them. Colleen is near the kids. She's with the kids. And leave it smaller. That's fine. Oh, okay.
Anybody for a vote?
But the simple act of just going up closer. Am I going to get Judy Amato's attention? Right? Just coming a little bit closer. It's a simple technique, right? No one taught her that, but no one also told her you have to stay at the desk. And it's those types of engagement activities, it's those types of actions that our teachers, thank you, are doing. And that's a little thing, but I wanted to show that because that's not a tool. That's not something that you had to order or purchase. Joe, you didn't have to buy that one. But I just thought those were great. And everything looked different. Again, it wasn't how can we take a staff picture? It wasn't can we take it, it's how, right? So look at that. It's so cool. That's going to go on our wall, right, with all the other pictures. And it's going to look different. Well, people will remember back like, wow, look at that. Look what we did. But look at that. We would have never, ever thought to do that. And I loved it. I never had to wear any of these. On this day, I had two, right? So even these struggles our staff have done with it, and people are allowed to take computer breaks and things like that. But even dealing with things like this. So just a couple highlights from our teachers. Really proud of them and the work that we are doing. Certainly was great to hear from our colleagues and what's happening at the younger levels. I will turn it over to Mrs. Nyland and Mr. Marr. They're going to talk about our kids and the organizations and the activities that are happening. All of you here in this room said, let's have the activities, and you hired the staff to do it, and they're happening. So we're grateful for that. I will turn it over now. Mr. Marr and Mrs. Nyland, thank you. Good evening, everyone. As Mr. Murata said, we just wanted to have a moment of your time to brag about our students, our advisors, our community partners, and all of the wonderful things that our students are doing both here at the high school as well as in our community.
We think this is a really great representation of the how can. So take a look. We were also able to get professional narrators for our videos. So.
Fort Jervis High School hosted students from each grade level for a socially distanced afternoon of pumpkin carving. These spooky looking gourds were judged at the trunk or treat, and we were so glad to see so many of you there.
The senior class of 2021 kicked off their senior year by showing their school spirit and Fort pride at our annual Halloween parade. Although this year was a bit different, on the plus side, they were able to collect some treats along the way at our community trunk or treat.
We're so grateful to Ms. Casera and Ms. Hallerstock for keeping with tradition and hosting our annual NHS induction ceremony. We're so proud of our inductees and the accomplishments they've achieved.
Vex Robotics got working early this year, being the first club to reconvene. First they met virtually and then came in person as well. They do meet every Tuesday and Thursday under the supervision of Mrs. Westbarnes and Mr. Hysiak. It is always cool to watch our students' minds at work as they create, design, and troubleshoot in our makerspace.
Student health and positive choices have always been at the center of SAD's core mission. These champions of health spearheaded an anti-vaping campaign this fall, which was very well received. Thank you to Mrs. Doherty and Ms. Lane for their leadership.
Operation PJ Pride Youth Coalition has been very active this year under the supervision of Mrs. Rismar as well as Megan Robbins from Operation PJ Pride. They kicked off the school year participating in handing out candy at the trunk or treat. Then they moved on to distribute swag bags to every student in the high school, which was made possible by generous donations from our community partners. They also held a poster contest promoting positive mental health messages. Posters can still be seen throughout our school. In the upcoming weeks, they are going to also be holding a virtual scavenger hunt for high school students, and then they will be participating in Take Down Tobacco on April 1st by chalking it up around the school campus.
Rotary and the Interact Club's commitment to community involvement cannot be overstated. They collected $1,400 locally leading up to the holidays and distributed gift cards to deserving high school students, bringing cheer and joy to the season. They also delivered teacher appreciation cards as a note of thanks to our instructors. Thank you to Mrs. Piscatelli for the tremendous effort she has put forth in coordinating these various efforts.
A big thank you to Ms. Perskowski and Mrs. Piscatelli, who've been collaborating with 26 juniors and seniors throughout the school year on various debates. In March, they recently participated in a Google Meet platform convention, and they have multiple conventions coming up in April.
Although the annual Christmas party looked different than it had in years past, DECA was still able to provide holiday cheer in our community this season. Let's hear it for the gumption exhibited by this fine group of students and their advisor, Mrs. Liberati.
A big thank you to everyone who made our 3 trips to Holiday Mountain possible. Students got to experience the chills and thrills of skiing, snowboarding, and snow tubing with their classmates and teachers.
A big thank you to the Student Council and advisor, Ms. Gibson, for the flexibility that they demonstrated with the multiple reschedulings of the blood drive. Our students showed their compassion for others in the sheer volume of donations.
The high school music department has been very busy this year under the direction of Mrs. Gordon and Mrs. Long, who worked diligently to secure permission from publishing companies to record and publish student performances that can be found on Facebook and YouTube, including this year's Christmas Cabaret and the Christmas Carol. Our PJ musicians also participated in Read Across America by recording their book reads and sending them to our elementary students. We also had several students selected for the All-County Choir. Congratulations, and we are anxiously awaiting the spring musical.
Ms. Haverstock has led 2 teams of cerebral heroes, also known as OMers, grades 8 through 12. They've been hard at work and recently submitted their long-term projects for judging, as seen on our slide here. Their spontaneous event is upcoming, and they couldn't be more excited.
This year's NFL Week, our National Foreign Language Week, was endorsed by our foreign language students. The theme was Open Your Mind to Language. Students had some fun outside chalking up the sidewalks and drawing pictures of their minds being open to language, which are displayed in the hallways.
Bonjour, c'est Madame Fedoric ici, et je voudrais vous souhaiter une bonne semaine de langue étrangère. Ciao!
The PJHS Science Olympiad team is scheduled to compete in the Mid-Hudson Regional Competition on Saturday, March 20th. It will be an entirely virtual event, and we expect the results to be posted on Saturday, March 27th. Anticipated events of competition are Chemistry Lab, Code Busters, Circuit Lab, Fossils, Water Quality, Anatomy and Physiology, Sounds of Music, and Astronomy. Let's cheer on Mr. Koenig and the dynamic group of student participants as they cruise past their competitors into the winner's circle. Raider Athletics may have an abbreviated season and a delayed start to the year, but that hasn't taken the heart out of our athletes. Their competitive nature is still alive and kicking. Look out, Section 9. The Raiders are masked up and on the loose. Chief Wooten from PJPD and Chief Stinger of Deer Park came and presented to our social studies classes this fall. We appreciate our tremendous working relationship with these 2 departments and their continued responsiveness to the needs of our students and school community at large.
We continue to be grateful for our community partnerships. Planned Parenthood was able to adapt their public health education curriculum to a digital platform and organize Google Meets with our health students. Fearless, formerly known as Safe Homes, joined our PE classes to educate our students on healthy relationships. We will also be participating in this year's summit, Love Shouldn't Hurt, on March 17th and March 24th from 12 to 2 p.m.
Not a day goes by here at PJHS when Mrs. Grissler's influence isn't felt. She works tirelessly for our students to have opportunities, and this year is no exception. She was one of this year's nominees to receive the Charities Community Champion Award. She will be recognized Thursday, April 15th at a virtual event.
Friends of Port Jervis, Mary Alice Kovach from ADAC and John Jones from Orange County Staff DWI have collaborated to bring parents a virtual hidden mischief room. This will depict signs and symbols for parents and guardians to look for. More information on how to access this will be available on our high school webpage.
If you like breathing fresh air, then give thanks to Mrs. Stankunas and her senior student participants for their upcoming participation in tree planting at Brandywine.
A huge thank you to our community partners who have continued to provide information, access in their areas of expertise in virtual ways. We thank you so much for your support for our school, our students, and our community.
We are looking forward to welcoming our students back on March 22nd, and as you can see, we are very proud of our school and our community.
Students, there's still a whole lot of school year left with a lot of fun activities to plan and participate in.
Go there!
Thanks so much for indulging us. Those were not professional narrators. That was myself and Mrs. Nyland. Spoiler alert, sorry. But thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for supporting our school and the activities. You know, we understand they look different, but that's an important question to ask. So thank you for helping us. I'd like to turn it over to Mrs. Wallington and Mr. Karam from BPS.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to say that I am truly honored to be standing here as the Director of Pupil Personnel Services for Port Jervis. We have some wonderful things going on district-wide, and I'm just truly proud to see this unfold and all the things that we're doing for our students. And one of those things is our social-emotional learning liaison this year. And in a time of COVID, mental health and social emotional supports and awareness is so important. And Mrs. Eberling has played a vital role in this across our district. She's been working district-wide with our students and teachers, kindergarten to 12th grade, on rolling out our social emotional learning curriculum and character ed programs. So she's created a little video for us tonight to show you guys all the great things that are going on. So I'm gonna hit play.
Hi, I'm Mary Eberling. I'm the Social Emotional Learning Liaison for the district. I'm excited to update you on SEL in Port Jervis. In the fall, teachers and staff had the opportunity for training on New York State's social emotional learning benchmarks in preparation for expanding SEL in the district. Benchmarks were broken down by elementary and secondary levels, and strategies were shared with the teachers in how to incorporate SEL into the classroom on a daily basis. In November, we celebrated our first Kindness Counts Spirit Week, something that I do hope will become an annual tradition. Students created wonderful work throughout the week with a focus on kindness for ourselves and others. We have continued and expanded our partnership with the Choose Love movement. In the beginning of the school year, Choose Love provided a special targeted re-entry unit focused on better understanding our new normal as we came back to school in a hybrid model. Each grade was provided with 3 to 4 lessons that helped to heal and promote resiliency. We have finished those lessons in the fall. Now, Choose Love has launched a brand new next generation SEL and character education curriculum. Units focus on the 4 components of the Choose Love formula: courage, gratitude, forgiveness, and compassionate action. At this time, lessons are being recorded and made available to teachers to use in their classrooms. In grades 7 through 8, videos are posted in the Character Education Google Classroom, along with links to extra material, quizzes, and videos, making it even easier for our middle school students to access SEL programming. In high school, SEL lessons are pushed in during health classes once a month. This is, of course, in addition to the wonderful character education programming that's already happening in our buildings. In addition, we have also implemented passive programming at the middle school and high school in the form of infographics focused on the character ed trait of the month with related quotes, mindfulness, journaling prompts, and yoga poses. At the high school, we also are presenting short info movies and health classes surrounding the character ed trait of the month. I'm really excited to say that we now have an SEL webpage that is linked on the district homepage under the Academics tab. On the website is a wealth of information for parents, including resources to support remote learning, SEL at home, as well as community resource links. The SEL website also links to the wonderful virtual calming room that the district social workers and counselors developed last spring. Thank you so much, and I truly look forward to the future of SEL in Port Jervis. Hi, I'm Mary Eberling. I'm the Social Emotional Learning Lead.
And if you haven't checked out the website yet, there's a lot of great resources on there, and it's for everybody, including parents, teachers, and students to access. And I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Karam.
Hi everyone, thanks for having us here this evening. I'm really honored to be able to speak in front of you. I get the benefit of kind of summarizing and in some ways bringing everything together that my colleagues have already shared. So in thinking about how to summarize tonight's presentation, I was thinking about how to bring a theme to all of you. And in doing so, I thought I'd try an acronym for the first time since I've been here at Port Jervis. And so my acronym is spelled COVID, but it's not quite what you're thinking. What I have that standing for are challenges often verify individuals' determination. And the reason that I went with that is, as I'm thinking about all of the stuff that my colleagues have shared this evening with you, it's all about determination. But when I use individuals, I was very intentional in putting my apostrophe after the S, because it's really about all of the individuals within this district that makes it possible for us to have and do the things that we've accomplished this year. So my theme that I would propose is, once again, challenges often verify individuals' determination. With that, we have been asked to tackle a new form of learning for our staff and our students. So I want to tell a quick anecdote to illustrate how one individual's determination really impacts a wide number of students. I was talking to a veteran teacher who was feeling at the beginning of all of this like technology was not in her wheelhouse. She had a hard time making that transition to virtual learning. And I followed up with her with a conversation more recently, and she shared with me the following. She never would have gotten outside of her comfort zone if not forced by the pandemic and all that's happened. However, her assessment at this point was that she felt confident in dealing with the technology, and she felt that as a result of all of this, she has become an even better instructor than I knew her to be before the COVID pandemic kind of shut us down. So her determination to do what was right for her students has actually resulted in her becoming an even better educator for all students she teaches now and in the future. So I thought a long time about which story to tell, because I've heard stories like this repeatedly. Mr. Lazaro actually shared some student perspective with a very similar outcome, where the students started feeling really uncomfortable, but by the end they're feeling like they can really handle this new form of learning. So differentiation and individualization is something we talk about in the PPS office very often, but this pandemic has forced a whole new level of specialized instruction, and our staff and our students have really risen to that challenge. So I get to celebrate all of the successes that have been shared by the buildings, as well as our PPS team, in making our district that inclusive place that really differentiates what we're doing so that we can meet all of our learners' needs. The next slide I want to share is just a couple of things that we do to make sure that we are meeting everyone's needs. Mr. Lazaro touched already on the multi-tiered systems of supports that we implement K-12. That is designed to make sure that we don't leave any student behind. We focus on all of our learners, make sure that we identify areas where they're struggling, and really target those through specially designed instruction to make sure our students are finding success. And then the zones of regulation has been an initiative within our special education classrooms to help our students develop agency and an ability to discuss their social emotional status and really work to resolve independently those challenges that they may face, which COVID has, in some cases, highlighted and enhanced. So we're really excited about the things that are being done through PPS, and I thank you guys for hearing me out this evening. I'll turn it back over to Ms. Wallington.
A big piece of our MTSS this year has been our functional behavioral assessments and behavior intervention plans to better meet our students' needs. So we've had a great opportunity to work with the Dutchess County Community Partnerships Behavior Specialist team. They've come in and really worked with our staff, K to 12, and we've had great opportunities at professional development, and our building administrators have also attended. It's given us a wealth of knowledge, and out of that, we've also been able to streamline our procedures and enhance our forms to meet New York State regulatory requirements, and add some more additional tools in our toolbox to better meet our students' needs and support them in the classroom. And just some highlights from the school year. We always enjoy getting out to the buildings and seeing the kids in their classrooms and all the great things that are going on. So these are just a few pictures from our adventures out into the buildings. It's really great to see all of the wonderful things that are going on. And you know, with a year like this, I really feel like our staff, students, everyone have really risen to the occasion. And it's just nice to see. And all their smiling faces in the class, they're so happy to be there. And I just want to end with just saying a big thank you to our teachers and support staff and all of your support. I really believe that we've given our students the best opportunities this year, and it's just been wonderful to see. Thank you.
Thank you all for the presentation. I think I could speak on behalf of the board here. We've all thanked you for all you've done all year. I've always had respect for our learning community, our educators, our support staff, and everything else. I'm humbled by what I've seen here tonight. We've really been able to provide a lot of good things for our kids. You're doing some wonderful things. And from the bottom of my heart, I say thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we'll go on to administrative reports. Mr. Lenz.
Thank you, Ms. Lash. So I was just going to touch on some of the budget items that you had referred to, in that the State Assembly and the Senate both introduced their one-house budgets this weekend and passed those. Of course, we're still a few weeks away from seeing what really is going to happen as both of those House leaders as well as the governor negotiate what the final deal is. But what both houses have proposed is an increase in school aid of actually about $3.1 billion. The largest aid category being foundation aid, and that's $1.4 billion. And of course, as they move through that negotiation period, we'll have to see what really comes to Port Jervis. The good news is that when they talk about numbers that large, it does yield probably a nice outcome for us. The other thing that they spoke about was the expense to aid categories that the governor proposed condensing into a single aid category and no longer following the expenses to scrap that proposal and to go back to the original process of following the expenses. So BOCES aid and transportation aid would operate as they have in the past. So that's good news. And the other thing that is happening on the budget front is at the federal level, they did approve the American Rescue Plan, which was for, I'm sure everybody's heard on the news, of $1.9 trillion. What that means for us as a school district is a portion of that money will come to New York State, and we will be apportioned based on some of the estimates that are coming out, actually $6.3 million to $7.2 million. That money, as indicated by some of the reports, will remain available till 2023. So it's not a one-time payment. It's going to be around for a couple of years usage. I think it's also important to note, again, the Senate and Assembly have said that they will, their increases in state aid will be separate and distinct from that money. So it's really looking much better as far as the aid is considered as we move through this budget process than what earlier thought, because as we all can remember, there was a lot of discussion around a 20% cut, and now we're talking about aid being increased at the state level, and then there is some additional federal money that, of course, we will have to hear the further details of how that's really available to us. And that's my report for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Lenz. Mr. Pantaleon?
Thank you. I just want to thank all of our administrators and teachers for the amazing presentation this evening. A common theme, through tonight was this year has been different, but what has endured is the passion and dedication to our students from each and every one of you and your respective teams. So thank you for all of your efforts. Also, I'm pleased to report that starting tomorrow is the beginning of Greg Tang Math March Madness. And so we are going to kick it off with enrichment activities in grades kindergarten through 6th. They'll work on some skill-based of activities as well. And it will end with the culminating event taking place on Tuesday, March 23rd at 6:30 p.m., where Greg Tang Sr. will host a district-wide event featuring his new website platform and math activities for all. So while we can't do it in person this year, we're excited to offer it virtually in our teacher's classroom and at home for our families. And the information has been posted to our respective social media platforms. And I'm also very happy, really of last Friday, I had the opportunity to attend the varsity football game. I'd just like to thank Delaware Valley for their generosity and allowing us to use their facilities and their field. It was a great evening to see not only our kids, but the opposing team as well on the field. And special thanks to Mr. Segara and his IT team for really all of their work in streaming the games on all levels. And he works tirelessly in really going to each site and improving the process each week. So thank you to all involved. And that's my report.
Thank you. Mr. Rydell?
Thank you very much. I want to just echo what Mr. Pantaleon said regarding Delaware Valley and the generosity. Dr. Bell, really just without hesitation, opening the doors for us to be able to come over and play our first game, and I will mention, get our first victory against Cornwall. Because that is an important piece. But regardless, it was just great. It was great to have the spectators in the stands, albeit very limited. And but again, thanks to Dr. Bell for that. That was really just very appreciative of that. The other thing I wanted to just say, we've heard it, but our K through 8 students are in, and it is an incredible experience. I know Ms. Lane referenced 2019 as the olden days. So it was kind of nice to see a little glimpse of the olden days, 2019, and walk by the classroom and see 18, 19 kids in a class. It was awesome. And it's just amazing, as we saw tonight. Our teachers were presented with problems throughout all this, and they just continue to navigate and overcome those obstacles. So I'm real appreciative of them and all they do. And great job to our administrators and our teachers that are here tonight. Really an outstanding presentation. We have every excuse in the world to say, how can we do a year in review? What really happened? And you just scratched the surface, and it took 80 minutes to do so. That's a testament to each of you, as well as everyone in our buildings each and every day. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rydell. Okay, item 5, consent items. These include the minutes of the March 2, 21 meeting, the treasurer's financial report February 21, CPSE meeting minutes from 2/25, 2/26, 3/5, and 3/10/21. CPSE meeting minutes, annual reviews for 21-22 from 2/25, 2/26, and 3/4/21. CSE meeting minutes from 2/23, 2/25, 2/26, 3/1, 3/2, 3/3, 3/4, and 3/8/21. And CSE meeting minutes annual review for 21-22 from 2/23, 2/24, 3/1, 3/2, and 3/3 of 21. At this time, I'll entertain a motion and a second to approve these.
I'll move it.
Judy? Second by Ray. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Item 6 is personnel employment items. These include termination of employment, employee number 4908, resignation, position number 2635, monitor, leave of absence, appointment, support staff, position number 489, provisional to permanent status cleaner, appointment, support staff, provisional to permanent status, teacher aides, appointment, coaching vacancy number 2239, appointment, administrative vacancy number 2276, position number 608, assistant principal, position, appointment, administrative vacancy number 2279, position number 538, assistant principal, appointment, support staff vacancy 2286, position number 487, computer help desk aide, provisional, appointment, support staff vacancy 2286, position number 3321, computer help desk aide, provisional, and appointment, teacher substitute. At this time, I'll ask for a motion to approve the personnel items listed.
I'd like to make a motion that we move items G and H to executive session at this time and vote on the remaining items.
I'll second. Okay, so I have a motion and a second to approve items 6A, B, C, D, E, F, I, J, and K, and to move the other G and H to executive session. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item 7 is action item 7A, Health and Welfare Services contract with Arlington Central School District. Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Brian?
Second.
Ray? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Item 7B, Health and Welfare Services contract with Pine Bush Central School District. Can I have a motion and a second to bring this item to the floor for discussion, please?
I'll move it.
Bill?
Second.
Judy? Is there any discussion on this item? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Item 7C, resolution of nomination candidates Eugenia Jean Pavek and Michael Bello to the election ballot for the Orange Ulster BOCES Cooperative Board. Resolution reads, be it resolved that the Port Jervis City School District Board of Education nominates candidates Eugenia Jean Pavek and Michael Bello to be placed on the election ballot for the Orange Ulster Cooperative Board. I'd like a motion and a second to bring this to the floor. Flo?
I'll second.
Second by Ray. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Best of luck to the two candidates.
Item 7D is first reading of policies number 1110, 1140, 1220, and 5633. Can I have a motion and a second to bring these items to the floor, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have the highlights. There are 4 policies here that we're talking about. Policy number 1110 on school district and board education legal status. This was from our start of policy review of the 1000s. The administrators noted that the articles of education law reference did not apply to small cities and therefore suggested changing it to Article 51, which is specific to small cities. 1140 on students serving as ex officio members. This was also from policy review. We removed reference to 2003 legislation, but realized while reviewing the law that it seems that having a student sit on the board must be approved by the voters every 2 years and must be a high school senior. This resolution will be on this May's ballot. We also amended the title into the singular. Number 1220 is on Board of Education members nomination and election. This too was for policy review. We transposed the second and third sentences in letter D for clarity and corrected the title of the chairperson of the election in letter F. 5633 on gender neutral single occupancy bathrooms. This is a new required policy from Erie's 1 February policy pulse. We have the bathrooms allocated and signage was purchased. There are 5 up for a second reading, and the only thing I did want to point out, it's with regard to board authority. We went over 3 more existing policies that did not require changes. We're just going to mark them reviewed. And policy 1120 on Board of Education authority. is one we think that all that board members should make sure they have looked at, and one which the general public should be aware of. It stresses that board members have no authority over school affairs as individuals, and the only authority they have is when acting as a body in a duly called session. Does anybody have any questions on any of that? Okay, so we'll put those back on the agenda for a second and final reading next time. We had a motion and a second, right?
Yes.
Yeah, me and Billy.
Everyone was in favor of these going to? Okay. Item 7E is second and final reading of policy numbers 3420, 7210, 8411, 8450, and 8470. May I have a motion and a second to bring this item to the floor, please?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Item 8 is a discussion of the 21-22 Port Jervis City School District calendar.
Move.
This is just a discussion, right, Mr. Riddle?
Correct. So you should have received via email from Ms. Lopez the BOCES calendar that was recently approved by their Board of Education. And so really just to start that, so there's plenty of time to, process what the BOCES calendar looks like, as well as I will submit to you a few different versions of what our calendar could look like based on the number of snow days you would wish to allocate for next school year. And so that would obviously affect which days we were in session, et cetera. And then ultimately the key question is, are we in line with the Orange Ulster BOCES calendar? So those will be the decisions that will need to be made. Central to it, though, will be obviously the number of snow days. So it's important to note that New York State has not confirmed that they will continue on with this current school year's model of you can have a remote day in lieu of a snow day if you run out of snow days, et cetera. And that is an important consideration. If you were to ask me for my prediction, I would give it, but no one asked me. So so I will get those versions out to you, so you can review the different calendars.
Do you want to put this on the next agenda for adoption, or is there a deadline for that, Mr. Reno?
No, what I would recommend is perhaps our next meeting, we could have a discussion on the different versions of the calendar, and then we potentially could adopt that night, but I could just see it being put off for one additional meeting, and I'd rather do it perfectly and follow the process, and so that's what we'll do.
Okay. Item number 9 is board member items, board committee reports. I gave the committee report for policy. Is there anything else? Flo, did you have anything on Deer Park? No? No? Health and wellness, we didn't have a meeting, right? Okay. Linda, have you had
Yes, we did.
AXPA?
But I was a bad girl, and I went to the soccer game, and I forgot to bring my notes. So I'll have to give them to you next time. Sorry.
It's not a bad girl going to the soccer game and supporting someone, so that's okay, you're forgiven. Okay, this time, board member comments, Ray?
I just want to thank the learning community for their wonderful presentations from all the buildings. Outstanding work, uncharted territory, and couldn't be prouder. Couldn't be proud of all of them. Thank you.
Linda?
Basically the same thing. It's amazing what you have been able to accomplish with the students and with all the handicaps that you had to work with. We've overcome so much, and couldn't be prouder of it any more than it is. Also want to thank the Mrs. Halpenny and the ASK did a great job on their musical. It was a little bit grainy and problematic at some spots, but for our first virtual experience, I think they did a marvelous job, and so kudos to all of them. Thank you.
Flo?
I'd like to also say thank you to all our teachers teachers and administrators who came up to give us the presentation. I thought when I saw Linda, Odyssey in Mind, are we doing that this year?
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, you never know who doesn't want anybody or whatever. I'm just so grateful for that. Congratulations to our football team. Very good, very good. Thank you, Mr. Bell, or Dr. Bell, for having us, hosting us over at Delaware Valley. And I just can't say, you know, thank you everybody for all you do for the district. You know, thank you.
Bill?
Nothing at this time.
Brian?
I mean, just to say thank you for everybody. You were presented a tremendous amount of challenges, and I can't say enough of how everybody rose to the occasion. It's just a great place to be a part of the board, and thank you very much for the presentations. And don't think we didn't see you shake Marissa up here, and I appreciate the fact that you did a wonderful job.
Judy?
I too would like to thank you for that wonderful presentation, and I also wanted to add that JV football also beat Cornwall.
Great things are happening in Port Jervis. That's all I can say. Okay, at this time, we have dates to remember for dates March 16th, 21 through April 13th. These include March 19th, the 7th through 12th third marking period progress reports are issued. March 26th, K-6 trimester 2 report cards are issued. March 29th through April 5th, spring recess, schools are closed. April 6th, classes resume. Board of Education meeting, or budget workshop, not a regular meeting, at 6 p.m. here in the high school cafeteria. And the high school PTSA meeting, 6 p.m., which will be virtual on that same day. On April 13th is a regular Board of Education meeting, 7 p.m. here in the high school cafeteria. Upcoming events, April 22nd is Board of Education BOCES budget vote tenure reception, 7 p.m. in the high school cafeteria. April 23rd, 7 through 12, third marking period report cards issued. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to enter into executive session, and there could be potential action following that for the purpose of discussing employment of individual or individuals.
So moved.
Brian?
Second.
Second by Bill, was it? Okay.
Bill was ready.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried.
Good night, everybody. Thanks again.
Good night, everyone. Safe ride home.
Okay.
Session, do I have a second? Yes. Brian, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so, hold on one second here. I need a motion to
Bring to the floor.
bring to the floor personnel appointment items. You can hear this, right, or do I need to make? No, I need to make it. Can I have a motion to bring items 6G and 6H to the floor, please?
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Linda and Ray, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
You're opposed to bring it to the floor?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Okay, all right. Okay, at this time, I'd like a motion to approve items 6G and 6H.
So moved.
Ray? Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Judy, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Bill's opposed. Motion carries. Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting, please?
I'll move to adjourn.
Flo, a second? Brian, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Good night.